From a fake apology after humiliating guests and employees,
I am so sorry to the people who were affected,
to actually owning up to bad behavior and winning people back.
Through it all, I lost some of my best qualities. For that, I'm sorry.
Here's how an apology can make you either loved or hated, starting with Hollywood's former golden boy, Will Smith. Will Smith's career had been bulletproof for decades. He was the Fresh Prince who conquered TV, then Hollywood's biggest action star with hits like Independence Day and Men in Black. Later, he reinvented himself with powerful dramatic roles in films like The Pursuit of Happiness. Whichever way you looked at it, he couldn't put a foot wrong. He was bankable, likable, and the perfect family man. But in the years leading up to the 2022 Oscars, cracks started to show. His marriage to Jada Pinkett Smith suddenly came under the microscope. In 2020, she admitted to having an affair with singer August Alsina while still married to Will.
I really felt like we could be over.
We were over.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
The Red Table Talk episode where they addressed it went viral, not only because of what Jada confessed, but because of Will's reaction. Memes of his pained expression flooded the internet, and his carefully built family man image took a massive hit. Fans then resurfaced other videos, like this one from 2019, where Jada's lack of respect for Will was on full display.
Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the Red Table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me.
Oh my goodness.
If you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch us stare at the Red Table because she's helped us a lot, can't you tell?
Clips like this drew further negative attention to Will and Jada's marriage, and by the time the Oscars rolled around, they were on very shaky ground. Online, Will was being ridiculed, with people calling him weak for staying with Jada after her affair. So when Chris Rock made a joke about Jada's shaved head, comparing her to G.I. Jane, it really struck a nerve.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it, all right?
At first, Will laughed, but seconds later he stormed the stage and slapped Chris across the face.
Oh, wow! Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Will then sat back down in his seat before shouting, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Wow, dude!
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
It was one of the most shocking live TV moments ever, and within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Some saw it as less about the joke itself, and more about a man trying to reclaim control after being publicly humiliated by his own wife. When Will returned to the stage later that night to accept the Best Actor award, his speech only made things worse. He apologized to everyone aside from the man he'd just viciously assaulted.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. Love will make you do crazy things.
This sounded like a weak justification, not remorse, and everyone could tell. Months later, Will released a formal apology video. It was framed as a Q&A, with him reading out questions and answering them directly. He apologized to Chris, to Chris's family, and to the Academy.
I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk.
The delivery was stiff, the setup looked overproduced, and viewers saw it as anything but genuine. Literally me when my mum forces me to apologize to my siblings. The reason he didn't apologize in his acceptance speech is because he was still under the impression that what he did was proper and heroic. The apology now is because it didn't turn out the way he'd hoped, and there was a ton of backlash. Man destroyed his life's work over a joke everyone would have forgotten about in a few seconds. The fallout for Will was brutal. The Academy banned him from the Oscars for 10 years. Memes and late-night jokes turned him into a punchline, and even with the release of Emancipation and other projects, he's still defined by that one moment. What should have been the crowning achievement of his career, finally winning Best Actor, is now remembered for violence, controversy, and an apology that didn't fix anything. After the slap, Chris Rock kept quiet for almost a year, and then, in his Netflix special Selective Outrage, he unloaded. He roasted Will, mocked Jada, and dragged the entanglement saga back into the spotlight.
She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
Recently, Will has been trying to revive his rap career, releasing new music, touring, and dropping freestyles to remind people of his roots. On June 22nd, 2025, he appeared on Charlie Sloth's Fire in the Booth, and a couple of the bars in his rap made it clear he wasn't actually sorry for the slap at all.
Now I'm not the type of man to move in malicious ways, and I am too grown to play childish games. But if you talking crazy out your face up on the stage and disrespect me on the stage, expect me on the stage.
It seems Will's initial apology was nothing more than an attempt to salvage his reputation after destroying years of goodwill in a single night. But not every celebrity apology ends in disaster. Jonah Hill's story is proof that when it's done right, saying sorry can actually save you. Jonah Hill's early years in Hollywood were complicated. He broke through with Superbad, but almost instantly became a target. When he was heavier, the industry mocked him for his weight. When he slimmed down, people said he wasn't funny anymore. It felt like he just couldn't win. But Jonah didn't let that stop him, landing major roles in films like Moneyball, 21 Jump Street, and eventually the iconic Wolf of Wall Street. By then, his career was in a great place. He'd proven he wasn't just a goofy sidekick. He could shine in comedies, but also hold his own in serious, dramatic roles. But just as he was riding high, with everything finally falling into place, one ugly encounter with the paparazzi threatened to derail it all. While walking down a Los Angeles street, Jonah was hounded by photographers, and in a moment of frustration, he snapped, yelling a homophobic slur at one of them.
Have a good day, enjoy.
Suck my dick.
Oh, a real bully.
The clip spread quickly, and Jonah faced a serious wave of backlash. A slur like that in any context just isn't acceptable. Jonah knew that, yet he said it anyway, and in the moment, it looked like the fallout could be disastrous for his career. But the way he handled the controversy changed things. He responded almost immediately, appearing on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon just days later to apologize. He didn't hide behind excuses or try to spin the story. Instead, he admitted he'd said something disgusting, called it the lowest point of his life, and made a direct apology to the LGBTQ+ community.
This weekend I was out with some friends, and there was a paparazzi guy, and he was antagonizing me and calling me names, attacking me personally and my family personally, and I was genuinely hurt by this and made angry by this, and in response I wanted to hurt him back, and I said the most hurtful word that I could think of at that moment. You know, I didn't mean this in the sense of the word. You know, I didn't mean it in a homophobic way, and I think that that doesn't matter. You know, how you mean things doesn't matter. Words have weight and meaning, and the word I chose was grotesque, and you know, no one deserves to say or hear words like that. And you know, I've been a supporter of the LGBTQ community my entire life, and I completely let the members of that community and everybody else down when I used a word like that this weekend. And my heart's broken, and I genuinely am deeply sorry to anyone who's ever been affected by that term in their life.
You could tell, not just from Jonah's words, but from his body language, that he was genuinely remorseful about what he'd said. Viewers picked up on that, and the clip was flooded with comments like, "He looks genuinely shaken up by this. Jonah Hill is more of a man than most people in show business will ever be. He chose his words very wisely, and he was sincere through and through. Apology accepted. He seemed to be very genuine." Jonah even tried to turn the situation into something constructive, urging people to learn from his mistake and not lash out the same way he did if they ever found themselves in a similar situation.
I'm sorry, and I don't deserve or expect your forgiveness, but what I ask is that at home, if you're watching this, and you're a young person especially, if someone says something that hurts you or angers you, use me as an example of what not to do. And don't respond with hatred or anger, because you're just adding more ugliness to the world. And again, I'm so sorry.
The key here is that Jonah's apology was heartfelt. It didn't come across as something he was forced into, or just saying because he got caught. And that sincerity is the main reason the scandal didn't end up being as bad as it could have been. Jonah's career carried on strong, with films like 22 Jump Street and War Dogs released soon after. But the same can't be said for the next actor on this list, because Kevin Spacey's so-called apology went down as one of the worst in Hollywood history. Kevin Spacey's career was once untouchable. From The Usual Suspects to American Beauty, he was considered one of the best actors of his generation. And by the mid-2010s, he was in the middle of a big comeback as Frank Underwood on Netflix's House of Cards. But in October 2017, all of that came crashing down when actor Anthony Rapp came forward with a shocking allegation that Spacey had made a sexual advance towards him at a party in the 1980s, when Rapp was just 14 years old.
In an interview with BuzzFeed, Rapp said Spacey invited him to his Manhattan apartment for a party and made the sexual advance after everyone had left. He picked me up like a groom picks up the bride over the threshold, but I don't squirm away initially because I'm like, what's going on? And then he lays down on top of me. He was trying to seduce me, Rapp told BuzzFeed.
The story blew up instantly, especially because it came right in the middle of the Me Too movement. Spacey had a chance to respond with clarity and respect. Instead, what he did is now remembered as one of the worst celebrity apologies of all time. He put out a statement on Twitter where he claimed he didn't remember the incident. Then he said, "But if I did behave then as he describes, I owe him the sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior." To many, the phrasing sounded like he was dodging accountability, but it was the second part of his statement that really set people off. In the very same apology, Spacey announced that he was gay, saying, "I have loved and had romantic encounters with men throughout my life, and I now choose to live as a gay man." Instead of focusing on Anthony Rapp, it looked like he was trying to shift the conversation onto his sexuality, and people didn't like that one bit. One fan said, "I've admired Spacey for a long time. He's been in some of the best movies and TV series of all time. That said, I find it pretty shitty that he came out in this manner. It just seems like he threw this out there as a deflection, to focus the media's attention on his sexual orientation rather than his alleged transgressions. The fact that he's gay or bisexual has been an open secret for years, and no one really is bothered about that. Point is, it really comes off a lot more like a calculated spin rather than genuine reflection." LGBTQ+ groups condemned Spacey's statement, saying it was manipulative and harmful, and his career went downhill fast. Netflix cut ties with him almost immediately. He had been the lead of House of Cards for 4 seasons, but in season 5 he was pushed out completely. The show's entire identity had revolved around Frank Underwood, and without him it collapsed. Then came the movie All the Money in the World, where Spacey was the lead. Ridley Scott made the difficult decision to reshoot the entire film just weeks before its release, replacing Kevin with Christopher Plummer. It cost millions and forced the cast to redo their scenes on almost no notice, but Scott said there was simply no other option. Keeping Spacey in the movie would have doomed it. More allegations followed in the months after Rapp came forward, and even though Spacey was later cleared in court, the damage was already done. Hollywood had closed the door on him and his career never recovered. While Spacey's apology is remembered as one of the worst in the business, for others, an apology can be the first step toward winning the public back. And one of the clearest examples of that is Justin Bieber. Have you ever left a meeting with messy notes, a dozen action items, and no clear idea where to start? Well, the Claude Notes Pro is your solution, an AI meeting assistant for leaders. About the size of a credit card, it's slim, portable, and attaches to your phone. It captures everything: record conversations, snap photos, jot down ideas, and pin key highlights. Unlike your phone, you don't have to worry about battery drain or storage filling up. When you review later, it feels like you're back in the room. The meeting secretary then turns everything into structured notes, with summaries, insights, and to-dos. It can even analyze intent and dynamics so nothing gets missed. With Ask Claude, you can instantly draft follow-up emails, extract reports, brainstorm, or search across all your past meetings. The hardware is equally strong. 4 microphones capture voices from 5 meters away, cancel noise, identify overlapping speakers, show status on the display, and record 50 hours with 60 days of standby. It also has Apple Find My and fast Wi-Fi or Bluetooth transfers. On top of that, everything is private and secure, with compliance to global standards. Claude also has the Note for smaller meetings, with most of the pros features. Right now, you can get 20% off the Note with my code TELLUSMORE. Try it today using my link in the description and pinned comment, or just scan the QR code on screen. Justin Bieber started out as a squeaky clean teen idol. Discovered on YouTube, signed by Usher, and catapulted to fame with Baby, he was marketed as the wholesome kid next door. For a while, this worked. He was one of the most famous teenagers in the world, mobbed by fans wherever he went. But growing up in that spotlight quickly sent him off the rails. By his late teens and early 20s, Justin's image had completely flipped. Instead of headlines about music, it was one scandal after another. In 2013, tensions between Justin and the paparazzi reached a boiling point. After being relentlessly pursued, an incident erupted when a cameraman hurled a nasty insult at him.
Fucking little cock. That's America.
What you say?
You heard what I said, man.
What'd you say?
You heard what I said. Lose your fucking belt. Lose your fucking belt. Lose your fucking belt. I'm back, you prick. I'm back, you prick. Back. Alright? That's all. Fucking little.
This confrontation marked a turning point, signaling Justin's growing frustration with the invasive media. The constant scrutiny from paparazzi, fans, and even fellow celebrities had begun to take its toll, leading him to push back against the pressures of his fame. However, this defiance soon spiraled into reckless behavior. A few months later, after a night of partying in a New York nightclub, he was filmed urinating in a janitor's bucket and shouting, "Fuck Bill Clinton."
We swagger, man. You know, this is just a better spot to pitch. Bro. We the wild kids. That's a cooler spot to pitch. You know, you'll forever remember that.
I kids in this.
It was juvenile and disrespectful, and the clip went viral fast. Then came the balcony incident. In Toronto, fans gathered outside his hotel hoping to see him, and instead of engaging with them in a civilized way, Justin leaned over his balcony and spat down at them. Whether he meant it directly at the crowd or not, the optics were brutal. Headlines everywhere painted him as arrogant, entitled, and disrespectful to his own supporters. Not long after, he was in Brazil for a tour stop and spray-painted graffiti on the walls of the Hotel Nacional, a protected heritage site. Local police charged him with vandalism, and the story spread around the world. But Justin's behavior wasn't just making headlines overseas. Later that same year in California, he was accused of pelting a neighbor's house with eggs, causing around $80,000 in damage. That number might sound ridiculous for an egging incident, but it was still another example of him acting out, and it added to the picture of a star completely out of control. Then came the Miami arrest. In early 2014, Justin was caught drag racing a rented Lamborghini against R&B singer Khalil. Police reported that Justin exhibited signs of intoxication and admitted to consuming alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs. When he refused to cooperate with officers, they placed him under arrest, resulting in his infamous mugshot.
Mr. Bieber, you are charged with the following: DUI, alcohol or drugs, resisting without violence, and driving with an expired driver's license.
This was a new low, but arguably the most shameful moment of all was yet to come. That year, old videos resurfaced of a 14-year-old Justin using the N-word.
One less lonely one less lonely one less lonely there's gonna be one less. If I kill you, I'll be part of the KKK. Then there'll be one less lonely. There's gonna be one less lonely.
The Miami arrest had painted him as reckless, but this crossed into something darker, damaging his reputation in a way that other scandals hadn't. At this point, Justin was in full meltdown mode. The squeaky clean image was gone, replaced by a string of arrests, lawsuits, and controversies. He was being called a child star on the path to ruin.
There was a time where I was sipping lean, I was popping pills, I was doing Molly, shrooms, everything, and it was just an escape for me.
But this was where he began to turn things around. In 2015, after taking some time away from the spotlight, he went on the DeGeneres show and owned up to his behavior.
I've done some things that might not have been the greatest.
Really?
So,
Nothing comes to mind. I don't know what you're talking about.
Later that same day, he posted a Facebook video apologizing directly to fans, saying he hadn't been himself and that fame had gone to his head.
So today, I was on Ellen. I was really nervous.
I was afraid of what people are thinking about me right now. I didn't want to come off arrogant or conceited, or basically how I've been acting the past year and a half.
Not long after, he did the Comedy Central roast of Justin Bieber. For over an hour, celebrities tore into him, bringing up every arrest, controversy, and embarrassing moment. Justin fired back with jokes of his own, but it was at the very end when he dropped the humor and got serious. He admitted he'd made mistakes, promised to grow up, and thanked the people who stuck around.
The things that I've done really don't define who I am. I'm a kind-hearted person who loves people, and through it all, I lost some of my best qualities. For that, I'm sorry. But what I can say is I'm looking forward to being someone that you guys can all look at and be proud of. Someone you can smile at and see some of yourself in. Someone close to me once said, it's how you rise from a fall that truly defines you as a man. I'm excited for that challenge. And I want to say thank you so much for taking this journey with me, and I'm excited for you to see what's next.
His apology came across like he really meant it. The roast wasn't just about jokes. It was his way of putting everything on the table and apologizing on a massive public stage. And in the years that followed, he backed it up. He opened up about mental health, focused on stability, and slowly rebuilt his image. Like Jonah, Justin's story serves as an example of how a genuine apology can really turn things around. But Ellen's so-called apology had the opposite effect. It damaged her reputation beyond repair. For almost 20 years, Ellen DeGeneres built her brand on one simple message: be kind. It was the way she ended every show, and for millions of viewers it became her trademark. But behind the smiles and the dancing, things weren't nearly as wholesome as they looked. Her daytime show was a juggernaut. Celebrities lined up to appear, audiences adored her, and Ellen became one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood. She even received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. For the longest time, she was untouchable, but eventually, it all fell apart. Clips began resurfacing that painted a very different picture. When Mariah Carey came on, Ellen pressured her to drink champagne to expose a pregnancy she wasn't ready to announce.
The other thing is that people are saying that that you're pregnant. There's rumors.
Don't discuss that.
All right. Well, you don't have to.
No, that's okay. No, honestly,
you
how
don't
do
have to answer me. Let's just toast with champagne and decide.
But this is peer pressure. Do you see what Ellen is doing? This is peer pressure.
No. Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we should.
Oh my goodness. It's too early for me.
Yeah.
I only drink it after 3 p.m.
Yeah. You're pregnant. You're pregnant.
No,
you
I
are
didn't
pregnant.
say that. No.
She made Taylor Swift play a humiliating game where male celebrities' photos were shown and she had to ring a bell if she dated them.
All right, we didn't date. Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's ridiculous to show's act. They never did date. Okay. Hold it like you're gonna ring it at some point. Okay. All right. Danny DeVito, did y'all date?
You know I can't talk about that.
All right. All right, John.
I don't know what I'm.
You're supposed to ring.
But I don't want to. I don't want to.
All right, I'll ring.
Because they'll send me angry emails, and I don't want to get them.
I'll hold it for you.
What are you doing to me?
Okay, all right.
Sofia Vergara was mocked for her accent.
Do you get gifts?
I get gifts.
Yeah, what kind of gifts do you get? Can you get rid of the accent?
No, I can't. I've tried and I'm too old already.
I mean, literally, you've been on this show for 10 years and your accent has gotten worse. How is that possible?
Celine Dion was shamed for her son's hair.
I'm not too much into politics stuff.
All right, well, it seems like you're busy with something because you're forgetting to cut your son's hair. Look at him. He is beautiful, but look at his hair. When are you going to cut that hair?
Even ordinary guests weren't safe. In one segment, Ellen relentlessly mocked and degraded a translator who was helping her interview a young Chinese-speaking guest.
I think you'd be good at everything because you play the ukulele and then now you're playing electric guitar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What else do you want to learn?
你现在在学怎么弹电子吉他。你还想再学什么？
Just one question. Just what else does he want? I don't know what you're telling him, but just ask him what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry. 你现在还想学什么？现在
See, that was that short.
After this, the translator got flustered and lost her composure, but Ellen just wouldn't give her a break.
Finger style 的木吉他。So a finger style guitar, besides the electric guitar.
A finger style? What's a finger style? Oh, acoustic. Well, don't just ask him. Don't look at me and go, I don't know. We're not having a conversation. I'm asking him, what is a finger style?
Acoustic.
You don't know that. Ask him.
OK， 你现在弹的是 finger style， 你知道是什么吗？
我知道 finger style 是什么，就是。
Well, he knows what a finger style is.
But we don't.
那你能不能给我们解释一下是什么？
就是会，就弹一些演奏曲子，就是只单。
Never mind. Okay. I've lost interest.
Even Ellen's own audience fell victim. In one notorious episode, she publicly shamed a woman for taking extra free merchandise.
Then she goes back and she returns one of her stolen items and she switches it out for a hat. Hello. What's your name?
My sister couldn't come, so that was her souvenir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A lot of people's sisters couldn't come. Look, I like that you like the product so much that you wanted to bring one back for your sister. But now when you go like to Costco or you're the kind of person like when you go trick-or-treating and nobody's home, you don't just take you take the bowl, you just walk away.
She proceeded to force the woman to sit in what she called Ellen Jail, a makeshift prison on stage.
Let that be a lesson to you, because you think it is. You think nobody's watching you and you just need to be a good person just because you want to be a good person. You go sit in that Ellen Jail over there right now. No, you'll steal stuff back there. Come here, this way. What's your sister's name?
Anna.
All right, well, Anna got you in big trouble.
This wasn't harmless teasing. It showed a mean streak that didn't line up with her kindness image. And as bad as those moments looked on TV, what was happening behind the scenes was worse. In 2020, former staffers described the workplace built on fear. Employees were told not to look Ellen in the eye. People were allegedly fired for taking medical or bereavement leave, and others reported racist comments from senior producers. One staffer summed it up simply, saying, "That be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on."
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is.
Hedda Muscat was with Ellen from the beginning in 2003 when the talk show was launched.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the cameras stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically. Even when she exited, she just said what she had to say on camera and then walked off. You just expect a lot when you go to meet like your idol, and then when you get disappointed, it's like such a letdown. They tell you, you can't be smarter, funnier than Ellen. She's the comedian and the star, not you.
Warner Brothers launched an investigation into the show, and 3 top producers were fired over allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. Ellen wasn't directly accused of that behavior, but she couldn't escape the perception that it all happened under her watch. She wrote a letter to staff and then kicked off the next season of her show with a televised apology.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show. And then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected. I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show. There were also articles in the press and on social media that said that I am not who I appear to be on TV because I became known as the Be Kind lady. The truth is, I am that person that you see on TV. I am also a lot of other things. Sometimes I get sad, I get mad, I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get impatient, and I am working on all of that. I am a work in progress, and my intention is to always be the best person I can be. And if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, I am so sorry for that.
Instead of saving her, the apology backfired. Comments poured in, accusing her of pretending the toxic culture had nothing to do with her, and ratings for the show collapsed by more than 40%. Ellen then announced the show would be ending after its 19th season, but insisted it had nothing to do with the allegations.
The ratings are down for this show. They're down for every talk show.
Right.
To be fair.
Yep.
But more for this one. Does that factor into any of this decision?
It's more for this one because we had further to fall, and everybody else was at a lower place, so they didn't have as far to fall. To be honest, I mean, that's the truth. We were very, very successful.
Later, it became clear how hollow her previous apologies were, as she claimed she was a victim of misogyny and that the backlash had been orchestrated.
Did you feel like you were being canceled?
I mean, I really didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. I thought something was going on that because it was too orchestrated, it was too coordinated, and also, I have to say, if nobody else is saying it, it was really interesting because I'm a woman, and it did feel very misogynistic. It felt like I am a boss. I have a very successful show. I'd never had any complaints about anything for 17 years, and all of a sudden, all at once, something happened. So it did feel, it was...
Sexist?
Yeah.
By the time she returned with a Netflix special in 2024, her reputation was in tatters. Instead of rebuilding, she took shots at the very scandals that ended her career.
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business. Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick you out. Yeah, the Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. Here's the problem. I'm a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go fuck yourselves...
The special bombed, receiving terrible reviews online, and any hope Ellen had of making a comeback disappeared. In the end, Ellen's downfall wasn't just about a toxic workplace or a few cruel interview moments. It was about hypocrisy. For nearly 2 decades, she told the world to be kind, but when her own behavior came under fire, her response didn't show kindness, it showed denial. Her apology felt fake because her actions never changed. But what happens when someone skips the big apology moment and lets their actions do the talking? Robert Downey Jr. faced his own massive scandal, but he never gave that emotional, viral apology we've come to expect from celebrities in crisis. Instead, he let his changed behavior speak for him, and somehow, that became more powerful than any apology could have been. Before he ever put on the Iron Man suit, Robert Downey Jr. was already Hollywood's golden boy. By 27, he'd been nominated for an Oscar for Chaplin, praised as one of the most talented actors of his generation, and respected across the industry. On paper, he had it all, except control over the addictions that were slowly destroying him. The habit started young. His father, filmmaker Robert Downey Sr., introduced him to drugs when he was just 6 years old. By his teens, he was already hooked, and by the time the 90s hit, he was spiraling out of control. In 1996, police pulled him over for speeding and discovered he was high behind the wheel. In the car, they found heroin, cocaine, crack, and a .357 Magnum. He was arrested and hit with felony drug possession and a DUI, but managed to walk away with probation. Only weeks later, he broke into a neighbor's home while under the influence, passed out in their child's bed, and was arrested again. Rehab followed, but sobriety didn't stick. The next 5 years were a cycle of arrests, court appearances, failed rehab attempts, and constant relapses. His drug use was so heavy, it's remarkable he never overdosed. Finally, in 1999, after skipping out on court-ordered rehab, he was sentenced to 3 years in California's state prison system.
What was your lowest point?
It was probably when I realized I was going to be going and doing time, and I wasn't going to...
In a real prison?
In a real prison, yes.
He ended up serving about a year behind bars, and inside, he admits he hit rock bottom. At one point, he considered taking his own life, but the pattern didn't break at release. Downey relapsed almost immediately, and by the early 2000s, Hollywood had basically written him off. He was uninsurable. Studios wouldn't touch him because the premiums were through the roof. He was blacklisted, broke, and labeled a lost cause. People around him feared he wouldn't live to see 40. Then things turned. He met Susan Levin, a film executive on Gothica, and their relationship was different. Susan didn't enable him. She gave him an ultimatum: get clean or lose her. Around the same time, Downey says he had a moment of real clarity. Sitting in his car with a stash of drugs beside him, staring at the ocean, he realized he'd either stop or he wouldn't survive. He got out of the car and threw the drugs into the water. That decision didn't fix everything overnight, but it was the first real step toward getting his life back.
I think there's an aspect of it that clearly has to do with one's own morality, because it's too easy to jump on that wagon of it's a disease and my brain's been hijacked and I no longer have a choice in the matter. I think there's that element for sure, but past a certain point you have to stand up inside yourself and change. You know, everybody does with any issue. Ultimately, anything else is just a really, new age excuse, if you ask me.
With time, Downey was able to revive his career, with small roles leading on to bigger ones. And by 2008, director Jon Favreau took the ultimate gamble on him, casting him as Tony Stark in Iron Man.
I believe that, most difficult situations will resolve themselves if you are persistent and if you don't give up entirely. And that's what I never did. I never gave up.
Landing Iron Man didn't just give him a boost. It turned him into the face of the most successful franchise in movie history. He'd pulled a complete 180, but he didn't do it alone. He had Susan by his side, and crucially, he had the support of Mel Gibson. Gibson vouched for him when nobody else would, even paying his insurance bond so studios could afford to hire him. And in 2011, when Downey was honored with the American Cinematheque Award in LA, he used his acceptance speech to publicly thank Mel for giving him that lifeline.
I asked Mel to present this award to me for a reason, because when I couldn't get sober, he told me not to give up hope, and he urged me to find my faith. And I couldn't get hired, so he cast me in the lead of a movie that was actually developed for him, and he kept a roof over my head, and he kept food on the table. And most importantly, he said that if I accepted responsibility for my wrongdoings, and if I embraced that part of my soul that was ugly, I'd become a man of some humility, and that my life would take on a new meaning. And I did, and it worked.
Moments like that, along with various interviews where he openly discussed his addiction, became his apology. Not excuses, not deflection, but accountability. Downey's redemption is one of the greatest Hollywood turnarounds ever. He went from being blacklisted and written off as a lost cause to one of the most bankable and respected actors in the world. And he showed that sometimes the strongest apology isn't just words. It's proving through action and consistency that you've changed. But not every star follows that path. Some refuse to take responsibility even in the face of tragedy. And that was the case for Travis Scott after Astroworld. By 2021, Travis Scott was one of the biggest names in music. Astroworld was more than just an album. It was a festival, a clothing line, and even a Fortnite concert. He'd built a reputation for wild, chaotic shows where fans were encouraged to rage, leading to mosh pits and all kinds of dangerous behavior. But at the Astroworld Festival in Houston, that energy turned deadly.
From the moment the doors to Astroworld opened, there was chaos at NRG Park. At 2 p.m., a stampede of concertgoers exploded through security gates, with dozens being trampled in the process.
As the clock ticked down to Travis's performance, tens of thousands of fans crammed into the venue to see him perform.
Where your feet were placed is where your feet stayed the whole night.
At around 8:30 p.m., the crowd began to compress and push, making moving and even breathing difficult.
5, 4, 3, 2. As soon as that countdown went to 0, it was just my rib cage was so squished that I couldn't expand my chest, expand my lungs to catch a breath.
In a video taken by a fan at around 9:12 p.m., people in the crowd could be heard screaming for help. Soon, ambulances were seen pushing through the crowd. Fans were chanting "Stop the show," and some even climbed towers to beg staff for help.
It's an ambulance in the crowd. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop the show! Stop the show! People are dying. I'm gonna save somebody's life. That's somebody's kid. Two hands to the sky.
Travis briefly paused when he noticed the commotion, but the performance carried on. At one point, he even told fans to put a middle finger in the sky if they were okay.
If everybody go put a middle finger up in the sky.
At 9:38 p.m., officials declared a mass casualty event. Security and medical staff were seen rushing into the pits, and yet the performance went on for another half an hour. Even as Drake joined Travis on stage at 9:54, chaos was still unfolding in the crowd. By the time the concert finally ended at 10:11 p.m., 8 people were dead. 2 more later died from their injuries. The victims were as young as 9 years old. The scale of the tragedy was staggering. 10 lives lost, thousands injured, and millions watching online as the horror unfolded in real time. The day after the disaster, Travis posted a black and white video on Instagram addressing it.
I just want to send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night. My fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience. I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening. Everybody continue to just keep your prayers. Love you all.
To call this an apology would be generous. There was no real ownership or compassion for the families who lost their kids, and fans let that be known. The only thing missing from his social media apology was an actual apology. I could never imagine the severity of the situation. Bruh, you were there. He seems more worried about his reputation than the lives lost because of his carelessness. The backlash was massive. More than 300 lawsuits were filed, with damages seeking billions of dollars. Sponsors pulled away, his festival was cancelled, and his name became tied to one of the darkest nights in live music history. Months later, Travis did an interview with Charlemagne the God, where he insisted that he didn't know what was happening in the crowd.
People said they collectively heard folks screaming help every time you stopped the song to get your attention. Did you hear any of those screams?
Nah, man, I just didn't hear that.
Even if that were true, the shadow of Astroworld will never leave him. His so-called apology only fueled the outrage, and it's still remembered as one of the emptiest responses to a tragedy in modern music.